Okay, in a previous video we talked about the different classes and categories of employees. Well, I want to dedicate a video specifically to talking about how individuals get into a professional management track position in a larger Fortune 500 company. So if you didn't watch that previous video on classes or categories of employment, please watch that first, and then this video makes more sense. But to talk to you specifically about the management track in these organizations, well, there's two general ways to get in. There's the lateral transfer, which we'll talk about to start with, or internal hires. That is, for a management track professional, they're bringing someone from a different corporation or industry over to their business, and they're on the professional track at some place in the organization between entry-level management track and CEO. Somewhere in between that gamut is where they fall, and they're hired in. Sometimes they transfer between segments or sectors of within the company, so they're an internal hire or transfer in there. So that's one way. Now these individuals, if they're coming in, they generally, every job is advertised as 3 to 5 years experience minimum, sometimes 7, 10, 15, even 20 years experience for these types of jobs. A common issue I hear with my students is that they say, well, every job I see out there posted is 3 to 5 years experience. And that's generally for this very reason. They're trying to attract lateral hires, or they're listing a position to bring somebody up internally or from a different sector into the organization. And quite frankly, for the new business school graduate, these jobs, they're not even going to entertain your resume or your application in many instances. So with that in mind, so how do these Fortune 500 companies, how do they bring in new employees? What's their method or process? Well, the number one way in many of these, if not almost all of the Fortune 500 companies, is through internship programs. Most of these companies have formalized programs and relationships with schools where students do internships, generally paid internships, with the corporation. Okay, and these internships are generally structured during the summer. They're treated like full-time jobs, 40 hours a week, and they're well compensated during the summer. And these are the trial periods people like to say buy it before you try it type situation, but it really is. It's to see whether these interns fit in the organization and whether they're engaged in the work, because these companies generally bring in these interns through academic recruiting that they do with top universities. Now, if you think about the and this is the real advantage of being at a top university, quite frankly. When I say top university, I mean higher rankings for their school or business program, and it's simply because employers are looking for talent, and they assume that if a student made it into a university with rigorous academic entrance requirements, that these students are hard workers, and again, they will perform well in the jobs or tasks assigned to them in the business environment. So with that in mind, these schools say they're going to recruit at these schools, and they do on-campus interviews and recruit the students. And the students, again, will generally start after their sophomore year and do an internship at the end of their sophomore year, junior year, and then at the end of their senior year, they're generally hired during that summer to come into the organization. And even students who do internship programs at other Fortune 500 companies, still, they are recognized by the other companies that recruited these schools as, oh, they went through a internship program. They are a candidate for one of these industries. So sometimes there'll be some cross-pollination there. You might intern this summer at UPS, next summer at Goldman Sachs, and then at the end you end up working for Bank of America, right? But again, you can put it on your resume that you had these academic internships or non-academic internships during the summer that were in this professional pool of individuals that they're trying to attract for full or full-time employment. So on the entry-level management professional tract, this is where the majority of new employees come from. Outside of that, the individuals that get in are generally get in through some level of personal or professional connections that they made. I mean, that happens all the time. You can listen to Michael Lewis's story about him being an English major and him getting his start on Wall Street by sitting beside the right person at a dinner party. Okay, but generally, again, it's through some level of personal or professional connections. And if you're fortunate enough to be in a system that provides you access to resources like on-campus interviews, professional alumni networks, and things like that that can bring you into the organization, well, this is a huge advantage. But the reason I tell you this is to make yourself aware, because there are methods that we'll talk about in later videos to network and to other techniques that you can use. Even if you're not part of one of these elite business school programs that can get you in the door for these internships, you still can work hard and get yourself in that track yourself and give yourself the opportunities to achieve these positions. So don't be discouraged by that. I make this video to make you aware of what you're going to find, what you're going to see, and what it takes, again, to get into these Fortune 500 companies or large firms, professional services firms, and how they go about finding their talent. Okay, so like I said, continue to watch this video series, and we'll introduce you to techniques and methods of getting your foot in the door.